When I lost my point, I saw her getting into an upright position and preparing for a proper response. Aaron, the reason why I'm telling you this is because you aren't among this 99% either, and that makes you special. I mean, you're the first person that opened up in a normal way towards me. Normal, but at the same time special. I don't want you to answer the following statement, only think about it. I decrease the tension of our conversation. I'm treating you differently because you are, in a positive way. I mean, 1 week was enough to make me enthuse about this special person and forget completely about my shy, timid, and anxious self. Finding myself inside the flow state, I spoke further. Chloe, the way I'm towards you is far away from my normal self. Usually, I avoid taking the initiative to engage with people, like I did when I reached this place. But you somehow make me jump over any obstacle. The stories I told you are normally the thoughts inside my head, where no one is able to see them. Any traits that let me appear strange or socially awkward are gone. Some have decreased in their degree, and some have vanished completely. Then a little pause of speech emerged. Afterwards, I opened myself a bit more. Look, I think in truth, we are the ones making each other special, like you said to me before. Lastly, you don't need to tell me anything unless you want to do so. Even though I know next to nothing about you so far, I simply want you to know that I'm grateful, very grateful for your company. This time, an even longer break occurred. I kind of avoided direct eye contact with her, thinking that my statements were a little bit exaggerated. But in the moment our eyes catched one another, both of us commanded that with a soft smile. We needed no words at all. We just passed the time staring at each other. Only later that evening, against all odds, she opened herself a little bit more towards me as she explained one past experience she made. More precisely, she talked about her last vacation in France. A couple of years ago, I visited the French Provence on the Mediterranean Sea. With a good friend of mine, I lived in such a holiday apartment, consisting of 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a living area. It was nothing more than a little shed, but honestly, it was perfectly fine and first and foremost, affordable. We avoided it to stay too much inside anyway. So when we went outside, the beach was not more than 5 minutes away on foot. So we could go there basically at any time. And so we did. We did it at night, in the morning, at noon when the sun rays burned the most. Oftentimes, we made the jumping jack motion inside the warm ground of the beach and termed it a sand angel. When we got back, there was always a can of ravioli waiting for us as some sort of basic food. It just never got boring. And like that, we passed the entire 2 weeks before we eventually returned home. She mused a little bit about it, then said further, "Do you also have such places you want to visit by any means, Aaron?" I equally started to daydream as I thought about those typical wallpaper places depicting the beach and the sea or alternatively the snowy mountains. And to complete the composition, I added the red light of the half-submerged sun. Yes, this is a setting that fits my taste. And there are so many places being worth to be combined with that. I mean, combine the huge skyline of New York or Sydney in the glamorous light of the sunset. As I brought up that idea, both of us started to dream for a while. Then the other one of us continued. Imagine you are on the white beach of the Maldive Islands, and you just stare into the sunset or sunrise with the crystal clear water surrounding you. Then another one. Think about being in Norway on top of a huge snowy mountain. Snowy means freezing cold, yes. But when you add a little bonfire to warm up, it's just as awesome as 100 degrees at the sea with ice cream in your hands. That sequence of thought continued for minutes, for hours, one being more immersive than the other. It felt as if we went to those places for the moments we thought about them, but even more than that, it seemed like we went there together. One describing and one diving straight into it. Since we completely lost our sense for time, we just kept on going until the words started to fade and our eyes started to roll down. The only thing I kept in my memory when I woke up in the following morning was me writing that message to my parents, according to which they please brought me something from our house. Something which was vital for the following evenings. And regarding that, I never thought that something primitive like that could be this advantageous. But however, before I could realize my intention, I had to live through the day. That sounds like a duty, but the truth is, I felt better, more energized than ever. And corresponding to that, there might be a reason for that, except for the medical explanations and the pills they pumped right into me. So around noon, I had my first interaction for the day, since my neighbor was absent again, like she was frequently in the morning. It was the nurse who visited me, but not just some kind of nurse. It was Jessica, whom I hadn't seen for a long time in hospital terms. With her usual extroversion, she stepped inside, and the first thing she did was a thumbs-up motion into my direction before she greeted me with a vibrant good morning. She asked me how I felt, and I couldn't help but respond that I was more than good. In fact, I told her that my head appeared lighter than ever, less pain and less thoughts. I almost approached by asking when they finally removed my bandages, but luckily could prevent me from doing that, because there was something that popped into my head right when I attempted to formulate the question. To be honest, I didn't want them to remove those rags from my head, because the next step, according to the artificial chain of causality the doctor gave me, was my release. Back then he said that once I got rid of the bandages, I was going to be released soon. And I already thought a lot about leaving, what I win and what I lose. But I left the probable disclosure to future circumstances and twisted the question to what I've already asked the doctor. Jessica, can you tell me something about Chloe? She smiled lasciviously into my direction and concluded, the fact that you know her name tells me that you're on the best way to answer all questions on your own. Then she took a couple of steps back and made first approaches towards the wide open door. I spoke to her in confusion, asking if she could repeat that. I was far away from interpreting her statement, as I only understood one half acoustically. But instead of answering my question, she only replied silently that there was no need to do that. When she directed her index finger towards the door outside, she threw a last satisfied smile at me before she left with the door remaining open. Just as I was about to close it, outside was quite noisy due to the rolling cafeteria wagons at that time. I encountered what Jessica tried to show me. Hey, Chloe, I stuttered slightly as she entered the room, passing quite close to me. With a gentleman move, I closed the door behind her and went back to my bed, from where I asked her, out of the urge to initiate something, how she felt. She responded calmly by nodding, after which she returned the question, mentioning that I appeared rested. Of course I'm rested. I had lovely dreams of Norway, the Grand Canyon, the Niagara Falls, and so on, even though they seemed more authentic than 99% of the dreams I'm having normally. She started to laugh as a consequence and went further to the question what I thought about dreams. Phew, I sighed. Dreams. You have them when you're asleep, and sometimes you can remember and sometimes you can't, I guess. She shook her head and chuckled. That was not what I meant. Sometimes you have dreams, and they perfectly relate to your real life. So do you think there is a special meaning behind? As she expressed the question more specifically, I started to think about it in a more serious manner. Well, I have had dreams in which I encountered just random people without knowing who they were. But contrary to that, I also experienced the phenomenon to meet somebody that seemed so familiar to me, as if I had known them for ages. Sometimes, yes, there might be a glitch regarding dream and reality, a threshold that kind of overlaps, but this topic is so out of reach that thinking about it is not really worth it. At least when there is no progress. But what does progress depend on? She brought up the question. Is it the mere knowledge that makes something valuable? Or is it the further application that awards it with value? A quite intricate sentence I primarily had to dissolve inside my mind. So the mere knowledge is valuable in some way. But once you can apply that to gain an advantage, then it's called power, formulated wisely. Further on, we came to a personal example, how that knowledge can be transformed to power, and at that, especially one experience of her threw me into astonishment. I had a period of time in which I suffered from intense nightmares. When I couldn't recall them, it was a sign that it was going to be a great day, because those dreams just kept on affecting me in my awake life. As a remedy, I only had the suggestions to visit a psychologist. But as I like to say afterwards, you are your own best psychologist. And according to that, I managed it to apply an insight I gained. Rather, it was a guess into the blue, but against all odds, it worked. Proudly, she presented to me what she has figured out back then. Next time you have a severe nightmare, try to fill it with positive elements. Let's say you're being chased by a strange creature, then just replace it with something you like. And with that vanishes the intention of running away. Why would you run away from someone you like? So to get it done, just combine the bad with the positive. Just imagine yourself the following. You have a bucket of white and a bucket of black color. Both are pure in their own kind, but when you bring them together, they will mix up and create a new color. So let's say white stands for positive and black for negative. What happens when you keep on adding white color? It will get brighter and brighter. And so it is on any level. When you can apply the knowledge that everything can be balanced and changed, then you have the power to play with situations. When she brought her sentence to an end, I was stunned as to how easy it seemed for her to just formulate that, for it was everything but a no-brainer. I had even trouble keeping step with her thought. She made almost a scientific thesis out of it. That was only one moment, which added a huge amount of awe to make me wonder, girl, who are you?